So I was just scrolling my YouTube homepage the other day and I came across a video. I can't remember who it was by. If I can, I'll link it down in the description, but it was just a random review of a video game. But the way it was formatted, the way it was done, got me thinking, well, one thing I haven't really done on this channel is sort of short reviews of all of the Call of Duty Zombies games that we've had so far. I've spoken about them in depth to do with different things included in them. I've done map reviews, top 10 videos, storyline, Easter egg videos, and since we've just had Vanguard, which is probably the worst zombies I've ever experienced, it got me thinking, well, what makes that game so different to the best zombies, in my opinion, which was BO3. And then I started thinking, well, actually, was Black Ops 3 even that good? Is it just nostalgia now that all these years have passed since it's released? Is my idea of that game being great just based on memory? Or was it really that good? Just before we carry on, I do want to say that today's video is sponsored by Yahaha. I'm really excited for this one. Yahaha is a brand new UGC, which means user generated content, but it's a new UGC creation platform for a 3D multiplayer interactive experience. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences. This is something I've wanted to do since I was a child, and now I can. It allows me to build the creation I want without having any coding experience or server knowledge. All you need to do is simply use the components and smart assets in Yahaha Studio, and you can make your dream game. Yahaha provides you with millions of ready-to-use 3D assets. The assets are all stored in Cloud Drive, so they can be real-time streamed to the local client whenever you need to use them. And the best part, once the work is done, once you finish your creation, you can easily publish it to the Yahaha cross-platform app, which is on both mobile and PC, where other players can discover your work and join to play. Honestly, this is something everyone should have a go at, building your own creations, and now you can. Simply click the link down below and you can join Yahaha's early access right now, and it's totally free. So there we go, go ahead and do that, go ahead and start creating, and thank you to Yahaha for sponsoring today's video. Now Black Ops 3 was the 4th installment in Treyarch Zombie series, so this game, especially compared to Black Ops 1, even BO2, had a lot of reference points. Treyarch could go back, look at those older games, look at what they did right and what they did wrong, and then bring them into Black Ops 3 to make it the ultimate zombies experience. Every new zombies game we get introduces its own mechanics. It has something unique that sets it apart from other games. Black Ops 3 introduced quite a few new features that we didn't see before or that improved on what we had. One of the biggest improvements this game introduced for me, although when it first came out a lot of people were skeptical, was the sliding. We were used to in BO2, BO1, dolphin diving, and although that was fun, especially with PhD Flopper, it wasn't exactly useful. In multiplayer it kind of worked, but in zombies, because you're against AI, it isn't other players shooting at you. Dolphin diving in zombies was just never really that practical, and so when sliding replaced it, it did take some getting used to, but it is so much better. We've seen it ever since in BO4, Cold War. I don't want to bring this video down and mention the latest, but BO3 introduced the sliding mechanic, and all of a sudden, the movement in zombies became much more smoother. And I also think this made the gameplay feel a lot faster as well, because if you combine the slide with the jump button, you can use this to your advantage to move around the maps a lot quicker. If you go back and play BO3 now and then go back and play BO2, BO1 Zombies, those games are a lot more clunky, which they should be in a way because they're also older. Gameplay is supposed to improve, but a lot of that was down to the sliding mechanic. Compared to previous titles, Black Ops 3 also had a higher zombies limit than what we were used to. If you were to just isolate this on its own, this would mean that BO3 Zombies should be harder than BO2, BO1 World at War, but because there's a lot more than just this that comes into play, that's not necessarily the case. But one thing that did make BO3 Zombies easier, and might be the #1 change that this game made, was introducing a 3-hit system. Zombies before this had a 2-hit system, Zombies after this, BO4, had a 4-hit system. I think Black Ops 3's was perfect. Taking 3 hits from the zombies without any additional help, Juggernog, for me seemed like the perfect level of difficulty. 4 hits in Black Ops 4 I found not too easy, especially compared to the amount of hits you can take nowadays with armor, but going from 2 hits to 3 was definitely needed. It was so easy to get downed in the old days if zombies just happened to double swipe you, which would always happen. I think 3 was the perfect balance. Any more, it was too easy. Any less, you're having a hardcore gameplay experience. It still means that zombies was a challenge. This game wasn't for the easy gamer. It wasn't for noobs, as you say. You had to have a decent level of skill to play this mode, but it wasn't as harsh as it used to be, so that was another massive improvement that Black Ops 3 Zombies made as we progressed with this mode. Another thing that Black Ops 3 pioneered in zombies were boss fights. Nowadays we're quite used to them, we get them in most zombies maps, most of BO4's, all of Cold War's, 1 or 2 in Vanguard, but before Black Ops 3 the idea of a boss fight in zombies wasn't a thing. I don't actually think this game had the best ones out of the series, that belongs in my opinion to BO4, but nevertheless they were still really good. The Shadow Man in Shadows of Evil, the Corrupted Keeper in Der Eisendrache, the Thrasher or Takio in Zetsubo no Shima, Nikolai in his mech suit in Gorod, the Shadow Man in Revelations. The only one that didn't have one was the Giant. Some really cool boss fights. This was the beginning of that, a staple in zombies at this point, so BO3 has to get a lot of credit. Still focusing on the mechanics this game had, but moving left field a bit, we have the Gobblegums. Not only that, but Monty's Factory and Newton's Cookbook. Being 100% honest, I never really used Gobblegums in zombies. I know a ton of people did. Why I didn't, I can't quite put my finger on it. I've always preferred the old style gameplay where you don't have aid like this, but that applies to other games as well, it's not just COD. Whenever I play games that involve crafting items to help you, whether it's elixirs in BO4, Gobblegums, if it's a choice item, which Gobblegums were, I just don't really bother using items like these in games, but obviously I have done. Compared to the other variation of this, which would be the elixirs in BO4, I don't think we had anything that really compares in Cold War or Vanguard. The Gobblegums are undoubtedly the best system, and although they're not pay to win, I think one reason I perhaps didn't use them as much as I could have is because it does take quite a long time to earn them, and especially those better Gobblegums are incredibly rare, where occasionally it did feel like in order for me to get on the same playing field as someone who plays zombies 10 hours a day, especially when a new map came out, I did kind of feel like I had to pay for them. Obviously you don't, you can grind towards them, but those really good ones, such as the one we all want, Perkaholic, I felt like I rarely ever got. I think I got it maybe twice when the game was relevant. Just looking on my account now, apparently I have 6 of them. I have no idea where that came from, but it wasn't a pay to win system. There were a lot of good ones here, not all of them helpful, some of them just fun, and the way they were implemented into the gameplay was also a lot better than the way elixirs were implemented in BO4. This is just the best implementation of an item like this we've seen in zombies. And like I mentioned, we've got Monty's Factory, which comes into play with this, and Newton's Cookbook as well. And whilst I'm still on the topic of items that aid you, quickly perks, BO3 just introduced one new one, which was disappointing because we were actually used to getting a couple in zombies up to this point, but the perk that we did have, I always really liked. It got into my top 10. I did notice that a lot of people didn't rate it or weren't so bothered about it for what reason. At the end of the day, it gives you more hits. I know it could be annoying with stuff appearing on screen, but to me it was a great perk. And a couple of more things. One, theatre mode. Not having this in zombies anymore makes me appreciate how good theatre mode is, especially when it comes to making YouTube content, but anyone who wants to be creative, even if you don't, if you want to do Easter eggs for example, or want to take a closer look at things, theatre mode is extremely useful. We don't have it in Cold War or Vanguard. Hopefully we see it in COD 2024, and BO3 also gave us weapon kits as well. I think because this system isn't brilliant compared to the customization that we see in Cold War, it's forgotten a little bit, but being able to customize your own weapon, add whatever attachments you want onto it, and then whenever you get it in game out of the mystery box or on the wall, that's how it appears. It just adds a little bit of uniqueness to your style of gameplay. It means your version of that weapon is different to your friend's version. It gave zombies that bit of extra customization, which up until this point was kind of lacking. It improved in BO4 slightly and then Cold War a lot more, but BO3's weapon customization was still really good. So those are all of the mechanics, but of course that's just one part of zombies. Another major factor as to what makes these games so good and so unique, so different from multiplayer, are the maps. BO3 had 7 in total: Shadows of Evil, Der Eisendrache, Zetsubo no Shima, Gorod Kurovi, Revelations, The Giant, and Dead Ops Arcade. We do have to include that. Some of the best maps in zombies history, Shadows and Der Eisen, are in my top 5, The Giant and Gorod are in my top 10, and then the others, Zetsubo and Revelations, are okay. I think one thing I loved about these maps compared to previous ones was just how unique each and every one was. The graphical upgrade that we saw from BO3 to BO2 was major. As we progress into the future, graphics seem to be getting less and less different. We're reaching that peak, but the graphical upgrade from BO3 was huge. Still to this day it looks really good, so the colours was one of the main things for me. The blue in Der Eisendrache, the yellow/orange in Shadows of Evil, the green in Zetsubo, the red in Gorod, the purple/blue in Rev. All of these maps had their own unique colour scheme. They all included so much detail. They had their own stories, and I'm not talking about storylines. They all had, besides from Revelations and the Giant, their own unique wonder weapons, and I guess side weapons you would call them as well, like the Apothicon sword. There was so much in each and every map that it would keep you busy until the next DLC release. And that's one thing that Zombies is kind of lacking now. When we get given a map, it's usually a week until we're complaining that there's nothing to do, that we're bored, that we want more stuff. Whereas back then, I remember Horizon Draka, everything to do with that map lasted people 3 months until the next one. Everything that we were given in Gorod Karovi lasted 2 or 3 months until Revelations. The maps, with the mechanics of BO3, was the perfect storm for a great game. That also includes Easter eggs. Every map, even the Giant, had a main Easter egg. Every map had tons of side Easter eggs. But my favourite thing about this mode, as you will know, is the storyline. And in my humble opinion, Black Ops 3's was the best. The way it ramped up a level from what we'd seen previously, BO2, even though that was big as well, especially compared to the story in BO1 and World at War. Black Ops 3 introduced a ton of new characters. Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, premise was still fresh to us, undoubtedly the best cutscenes in the series. The conversations that characters had with each other was a thing that Treyarch promoted in BO3. It was something that wasn't really in BO2. Yes, a lot of people didn't like the way the story ended in Revelations, but I also think that had something to do with us not really understanding it. People were confused, and I can tell you that because a lot of people thought that there was a second ending in Revelations, that the one we saw wasn't the true ending. It turns out it was, and now that we've had BO4 and it's explained more, it's fine, but I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that we were all wondering what was going to happen or what this meant, instead of, again, compared to Zombies nowadays, where we're told exactly what's happening. BO3 had that mystery surrounding it. It did mean if you were new to Zombies, if you hadn't played the older games or you weren't up to date with the story, it was difficult to understand. It meant that you had to go and research it. Even just going back and playing those older games to get to BO3, doing the Easter eggs, it was still really difficult to understand what was going on. That doesn't just apply to the story either. The whole game is very complex. If we just look outside of Zombies, the campaign, Black Ops 3 wasn't noob friendly, but if you put the time in or do research, it was very rewarding. It was never a game that held your hand. It does feel, which is different from a lot of video games, that you, I guess, had to be dedicated, and that would eventually turn you into a fan. So was BO3 really that good? Yeah. In fact, I think it was the best. So there we go. Let me know what you think of this overview. Do you agree? Don't you? I'd love to see what you guys think in the comment section below. Drop a like rating if you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, make sure you are subscribed. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.